הגיע הזמן להתחרט, אם כבר לברוח אז מאחת, אם כבר לקחת אז לקחת בשביל לתת. וזה הזמן להתקרב, לא לפחד מהכאב, ואם לתת אז כבר לתת מכל הלב. הכל אפשר רק אם נרצה, המחפש תמיד מוצא, גם אם הוא נמצא אי שם הרחק בקצה. דלתות שמיים לא ננעלו, כשהבן קורא הצילו, אבא שבשמיים מגיע אפילו שעשינו משהו רע. הוא מוחל וסולח, מוחל וסולח, מושיט ידו לעזרה, ונותן ברחמיו את הכוח לתקן ולשוב אליו. אפילו שעשינו משהו רע, הוא מוחל וסולח, מוחל וסולח, מושיט ידו לעזרה, ונותן ברחמיו את הכוח לתקן ולשוב אליו. הזמן להתעורר, לעזוב הכל, להתגבר, לשוב הביתה.
Bruchim Habayim, welcome. Israel's consuls general and diplomats, Israelis across America, friends and supporters of Israel around the world, honored guests. Happy 73rd Israel Independence Day. Israel is 73 years young and we have so much to celebrate. The miracle of our reborn state in our ancient homeland, our vibrant democracy, diverse society, innovative startup economy, our ability to defend ourselves by ourselves against our enemies, the widening circle of peace in the wake of the Abraham Accords, and our strategic alliance and unbreakable friendship with the United States of America. In 1960, only 12 years after our founding, then Senator and later President John F. Kennedy declared, Israel wasn't created in order to disappear. Israel will endure and flourish. It is the child of hope and home of the brave. JFK's prediction was absolutely correct. 61 years later, Israel not only survived, it thrives, and the special bonds between our two nations not only endure, they flourish. And just as Israel and the United States are strategic allies, the Israeli and American people are partners for good. In cities and towns across America, Israelis are working in true partnership with local organizations and activists, with schools, hospitals, churches, city councils, and civil society to empower communities and improve lives. Our celebration this evening shines a spotlight on some of these initiatives. Whether training trauma specialists, distributing laptops to school children, supporting frontline workers, standing in solidarity against acts of hate, or fighting raging wildfires. Our partnership for good puts our shared values into action. As ambassador, one of my key goals is to connect all parts of Israeli society with all parts of American society. That is why, on my first official trip as ambassador, I traveled to the American South along with African American leaders to listen and learn about Black history in America, about the civil rights movement, and challenges facing African American communities today. I came away with a deep sense of our common histories of persecution and discrimination, and a deep conviction that we must stand together to combat all forms of racism and anti-Semitism. I look forward to continuing to work with the African American community and with all of the communities that make up the mosaic of America. For me, this trip was just my first stop on the American journey that I look forward to experiencing. I wish to witness firsthand the diversity of the melting pot that is America, as we can also share our own Israeli experiences as a melting pot. I am excited that I will have a chance to engage with more Americans from all walks of life and hear their stories. The opportunity to see the centerpieces of America's heritage and the beacons of American ingenuity across this great country, I expect will inspire me to find even more ways to connect our two countries. Dear friends, as we begin to overcome the coronavirus and look forward with hope, we also face the great challenges and opportunities before us. We face the need to promote sustainable development, clean technologies, and public health in Israel, America, and around the world. We face the opportunity to widen the circle of peace and reshape the Middle East by expanding cooperation with all of the Abraham Accords countries and beyond. I intend to work in the coming year with the US administration in every way possible to expand the circle of peace. And I am certain that there will be more countries in the region who will choose the path of peace and coexistence with Israel. And together with this opportunity, we face the challenge of countering radical regimes, especially Iran, and the murderous terrorist groups they support. And while we may occasionally have different views on specific policies, the United States and Israel stand united on our guiding principles. We believe in true democracy. We embrace the human spirit and value human lives. We cherish and preach tolerance, understanding, and accepting the other. We hold dear the basic principle of human rights and personal freedoms. The principle of freedom and democracy, the principle of combating hate and defending human rights, and the principle of standing strong in the face of terror and threats. These shared principles guarantee that our nations will endure and that our friendship will flourish. Israel and the United States, two democracies, the children of hope and the homes of the brave. Friends of Israel across America, while this year we are unable to be together physically, we have prepared for you an exciting celebration of the sights, sounds, and people of Israel, as well as moving snapshots of some of the partnerships for good being built by our embassy and consulates. I invite all of you to join me and celebrate this special day together with us. We have a traditional greeting of next year in Jerusalem. This year I add, next year standing side by side and joining hands in health and peace. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce our friend, Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Secretary Blinken has been a friend and ally of Israel for many years, and in all of his roles in Congress and the administration, he has worked to expand and deepen the US-Israel strategic alliance. Thank you, Secretary Blinken, for all that you have done and for joining us to celebrate Israel's Independence Day.
On behalf of the United States, President Biden and myself, happy birthday, Israel. I send my warmest wishes to the people of Israel as you celebrate your Independence Day. In your 73rd year of freedom, we salute Israel's determination, bravery, and ingenuity, which have made possible your country's prosperity and hard-won security. The United States' commitment to Israel's security is ironclad. And together, we're at work strengthening all aspects of our partnership, just like we've been doing since the United States first recognized Israel in 1948. This past year has been particularly challenging for the world because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But it's allowed Israel once again to demonstrate its resilience, strength, and compassion, whether by leading the world in your vaccination rate or making new friends from Morocco all the way to Bhutan. The United States welcomes and supports the recent normalization agreements. We will continue to urge more countries to normalize relations with Israel, and will look for other opportunities to expand cooperation among countries in the region. As a result, I expect Israel's group of friends to grow even wider in the years ahead. Yom Ha'Atzmaut Sameach.
Thank you, Secretary Blinken, for your warm remarks and friendship. One of the most important pillars of Israel's security has always been the support for the US-Israel alliance in the United States Congress. The bipartisan support for Israel reflects our shared democratic values, our shared economic and security interests, and our shared vision for the future. Democrats and Republicans alike, and Israeli leaders from all parties have always ensured that our deep partnership remains strong regardless of politics. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce tonight two dear friends of Israel who have played such an important role in Congress in strengthening the cooperation between our two great democracies. I am honored to introduce Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. In the name of the State of Israel, I want to thank you for all that you have done for our strategic alliance, and thank you for joining us tonight to celebrate Israel's independence.
Hi everyone, this is Senator Chuck Schumer, and to all of you watching, I wish you a happy and healthy Yom Ha'Atzmaut. 73 years ago, a new democracy came into existence in the Middle East, the nation of Israel, Eretz Zevach Udavash, fulfilling the hopes of so many of the Jewish people across the generations. Today is a celebration of how that dream has persevered and triumphed after so many years. Since its founding, Israel has faced and overcome every challenge imaginable. Threats from the outside, violence and terror, economic distress, and of course, the greatest health crisis the world has seen in 100 years. On this Independence Day, my heart goes out to all the Israelis who have lost their lives over the past 12 months, and to their families, their friends, and to all the healthcare workers who fought valiantly on the front lines of this disease. And like so many times before, I know that the nation of Israel will come out of these struggles stronger than ever before. The United States Senate will stand as your friend, ready to affirm decades-long alliance and to work together to build a secure and prosperous future for our two countries. The relationship between Israel and the United States, as long as I am Majority Leader, will remain like this. So the best to all of you on Independence Day, Yom Ha'Atzmaut. May all of you be healthy and safe this year and in all the years to come.
Hello, I'm Senator Mitch McConnell. I'm honored to join you today to celebrate the 73rd year of the modern state of Israel. Israel's endurance is a proud legacy for its people and for millions of friends around the world who celebrate alongside you. Of course, the past year has brought reasons to be especially optimistic about the future. I was proud to see the United States help facilitate historic steps forward in Israel's relations with its Arab neighbors. The historic agreements that have begun to normalize relations with Bahrain, the UAE, Sudan, and Morocco have created a tremendous opportunity to secure more peaceful and more prosperous days ahead. I'm hopeful that this day of celebration will inspire leaders in Israel, the U.S., and around the world to keep building on this great momentum. I'll do everything I can to make sure the United States continues to stand firm with Israel, whether we're joined in celebrating moments of historic achievement or facing down shared challenges side by side. I've always been moved that just before you celebrate Independence Day, Israel pauses to remember the lives lost to terrorism or on the battlefield. So I want to join you also in honoring their memories. It's been my pride and my honor to spend my career supporting our friendship and supporting Israel. I look forward to working to strengthen our bonds further in the years to come. Thank you, Ambassador Erden, and your embassy staff for making this gathering possible. Mazel tov to all of you on this happy day.
Hi, how are you? I'm Kobi Aflalo, joining you from Tel Aviv, from Israel. It's a great honor to be with you in the embassy, celebrating 73 years of Israel. I hope you enjoy, and thank you very much for this privilege. And happy birthday, Israel!
היום ליבי אלייך יאיר, היום קולי עלייך ישיר, קרוב אני בדמיוני שומר שנים בשיר געגועים נוגע, ושיר געגועים יודע. שובר שתיקה, היום אני חובק תשוקה, ואל הים אני הולך את המילים, אני שופך ושיר געגועים נוגע, ושיר געגועים יודע. חולם שהיא תבוא אליי, אולי תבין את סודותיי, אז מי יסתתר ברגשותיי?
One of my main priorities and privileges as Ambassador of Israel is creating and promoting new collaborations with my fellow ambassadors from the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Morocco. I am fortunate to meet with my colleagues both here in Washington, D.C. and in the United Nations. Together, we have shared religious and cultural festivals and traditions, celebrating our heritage.
أهلا بك يا أخي العزيز, to my friend, Ambassador Hilal, for being here with us this evening in honor of the new diplomatic relations between Israel and Morocco.
I look forward to fostering our close relationships. I know that we will continue to build on these strong foundations in the future. I will work to ensure that our ties bring forth better relationships for a more peaceful region.
Following the lead of Ambassador Erdan, the diplomats of the Embassy of Israel have been meeting their counterparts from the embassies of the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Morocco, conducting roundtables and hosting events. We have promoted the role of women in the peacekeeping process during International Women's Day with the State Department and representatives from all three embassies. We lit Hanukkah candles together with the Embassy of Bahrain.
Assalamu alaikum, or shalom alakhiyam. Those great words are the very candles that shone brightest this year.
We came together in celebration of the Moroccan Jewish tradition of Mimuna with the Moroccan Embassy. We joined the Embassy of the United Arab Emirates to help our community right here in Washington, D.C. by distributing kits for people in need to help them prepare for winter and keep safe during COVID.
חג העצמאות שמח, ישראל.
Happy Independence Day, Israel!
Happy Independence Day from New York. I'm Israel Nitzan, I'm the Acting Consul General of Israel in New York. The consulate is proud to work so closely with the Hispanic community, and despite the pandemic, we're continuing our commitment. Over the last 10 years, we have developed a close relationship with Somos Inc. and the Hispanic Puerto Rican Task Force of New York. At their annual conference in Albany, we hosted a panel discussion with the Consulate General of Mexico and Birthright, discussing ideas for birthright-style programs for Latino diaspora communities. Immediately after this conference, we provided Somos with 5 scholarships for Hispanic students in New York City. Our community engagement and focus on promoting education remains strong. We help distribute books on innovation to students in New Jersey and in New Rochelle, where we donated hundreds of books from Israeli authors, many translated to Spanish, to the public library. Another highlight from last year was our virtual Latino Sukkah, with leaders from the Hispanic community, elected officials as well as community and faith leaders joined us in our virtual Sukkah, where we discussed how the themes of Sukkot, immigration, family, and tradition are values shared between Israel, the Jewish community, and our Hispanic friends. Yom Ha'Atzmaut Sameach and Chag Sameach Israel. Happy Independence Day.
Chicago pastor Chris Harris had a life-changing visit to Tel Aviv, Israel. While there, he noticed the similarities suffered by those in war-torn areas and those living in some areas of Chicago. Pastor Harris sought assistance from an Israeli organization called Natal. Now together, they're working to help Chicagoans. It's a trauma center established to treat victims of terror and war suffering from post-traumatic stress.
The light bulb really went off in my head saying, if the people in Israel come to this place for post-trauma counseling, could we not bring this model to Chicago?
The trauma that is inflicted on the family, on the victim, and on the surroundings and the community itself altogether is the same.
12 clinical psychologists traveled from Natal in Israel to Chicago and trained Harris and other pastors on how to treat those in their communities suffering from trauma.
It was great to know that people who don't look like us and people who don't live like us actually want to help to protect us, helped to build resilience in us. And that warmed my heart.
From all of us here at Israeli Consulate in Chicago, Yom Ha'Atzmaut Sameach. Happy Independence Day, Israel.
כי מה שהלב שלי בחר אחרי כל מה שהוא עבר את יחסת ואת לי בית ואת שוכנת בליבי את ישבת איתך זה שניים ואת יושבת בקרבי מכל הלבטים בכל השינויים אני נשאר איתך בכל הניגונים בכל הכיוונים אני נשאר שלך כי את מה שהלב שלי בחר אחרי כל מה שהוא עבר את, כן את, מה שהלב שלי בחר ואל חיקך תמיד חזר ואיתך זה אמיתי אנא סלחי לי כי לא אמרתי את בחדרי אהבתי מכל הלבטים בכל השינויים אני נשאר איתך בכל הניגונים בכל הכיוונים אני נשאר שלך כי מה שהלב שלי בחר אחרי כל מה שהוא עבר כן את מה שהלב שלי בחר ואל חיקך תמיד חזר
Hi, my name is Anat Sultan Dadon, and I'm the Consul General of Israel in Atlanta. This past year has been one to remember. With unique circumstances shaping the way we work, we may have been on Zoom, masked, or socially distanced, but our goals remained unchanged as we work to promote Israel's relations with the Southeast U.S. on the political, economic, academic, and cultural levels. We continue to work towards strengthening our relations with the Jewish diaspora, as well as reaching out to other important communities in the region. Our consulate continued to work together with so many partners, allies, and friends to combat anti-Semitism, racism, and all forms of hate. There is perhaps no place more fitting to do so than from Atlanta, also known as the city too busy to hate and the birthplace of the civil rights movement in America. As the COVID-19 global pandemic affected us all, we were proud to initiate and collaborate with fellow international consulates in the city of Atlanta to express solidarity and support with healthcare and essential workers during this challenging time. The past year has been filled with many challenges, but also with some silver linings, as in so many ways we were reminded that across distances and communities, we are stronger together. As we celebrate the modern state of Israel's 73rd birthday, I would like to wish us all, from Atlanta, Happy Independence Day. חג עצמאות שמח.
I'm gonna be just fine. Alright, it's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright.
Hi everybody, I'm Meron Rubin. I'm Israel's Consul General to New England. Today I'm here with what we are calling Helping Hands from Israel, whereby we give out hand sanitizer to the people in need. So far we have given out more than 7,500 bottles of hand sanitizer to more than 25 communities and organizations dotted around the northeast of the United States. We are very happy to be able to help out and add our grain of sand to the great work that people are doing all over New England. And we are looking forward to continuing this work in the future weeks and months ahead.
Yom Ha'Atzmaut Sameach, Chag Sameach L'Yisrael. Happy Independence Day, Israel.
No matter how difficult the circumstances, when you have friends, you never stand alone.
טוב, אז השרפה הגיעה אלינו. זה החיץ שאנחנו עושים פה עם החבר'ה. הולכים לבצע עכשיו הדלקה של אש נגדית.
Be a part of this assignment. I gained 10 brothers.
יום עצמאות שמח וחג לישראל. Happy Independence Day Israel.
אל תפחד תשאף לדעת, אל תדאגו תקיים, מי שבידו לגעת, יש שבליבו לנחם. אל תפחד ימים יבואו ועונות שנה תחלוף, אתה תראה כן עוד נגיע אל הסוף. אל תפחד ממציאות נושכת ואנשים קרים, כל אחד צוחק בבטן ומעט שעליהם רואים, כמה כוח יש ברגע ועד נצח אין לו סוף, על כל דמעה שעוד תרד יגיע צחוק. וזה הרגע, הנה בשעה, מה תביא את הרוח, מה ימיס את הדממה והסיבות לכל דבר. יש חלום שלא נגמר, בסוף הדרך עוד תהיה מאושר. וקדימה אל האופק, אל השמש הטובה. זה רחוק אבל תגיע, קצת עייף וקצת צמא לאהבה שמחכה לך, תקטוף אותה כפרי בשל, אז תנוח, תרדם בצל, כי זה הרגע, הנה בשער. מה תביא את הרוח, מה ימיס את הדממה, והסיבות לכל דבר. יש חלום שלא נגמר, בסוף הדרך עוד תהיה מאושר. כן, זה הרגע, הנה בשער. מה תביא את הרוח, מה ימיס את הדממה, והסיבות לכל דבר. יש חלום שלא נגמר, בסוף הדרך עוד תהיה מאושר.
Thank you. Happy birthday, Israel.
Greetings from the Consulate General of Israel to the Southwest. I am Consul General Gilad Katz. Last year has been a time like no other, and while it was pertinent for us to be distant, it did not stop our ability to make meaningful connections and carry out our work in diplomatic outreach, all of which bolstered the strong bond Israel shares with the Southwest United States. In the past year, in our region, all faith communities have come together for food drives, mass donations, and critical school supplies and technology donations. The Jewish and Asian American communities have stood together in solidarity with one another to speak out against bigotry and hatred. And finally, at the end of the year, in a special celebration of Hanukkah, we were joined by elected officials, community leaders, innovators, and change makers to share in the spirit of Hanukkah.
I want to wish the Jewish community here in Texas and across the entire globe a joyous Hanukkah. We must never forget the lessons that Hanukkah teaches us all, lessons of hope, peace, and perseverance.
I look forward to building on the work we have done in the past year.
I love my trips there to Israel, and we hope we maintain and increase that great relationship we've had.
It is our unity and that makes us strong, and our togetherness that fortifies our bond. חג שמח ויום עצמאות שמח לישראל!
Happy Independence Day, Israel!
Miami Beach Gay Pride, Israel in the house! Guys, say hi! Everyone say hi! Having a great time supporting gay rights here and in Israel. Hag Sameach!
From the United States perspective, I think we've made amazing strides, and I'll say this around the world too. We've made amazing strides in a relatively short period of time.
The evolution of the LGBTQs from isolated individuals to a collective, and that portrayed an entire picture of LGBTQs around the world and in Israel, and a lot of it derives from the American LGBTQ history.
We have been, developing relationships, strengthening relationships with the LGBT community. One of the organizations is with Steve's, the Chamber of Commerce, but also with others. We have worked with Survivors Pathways, the Unity Coalition. We were the first country to walk on Miami Gay Pride, and now other countries have also joined.
Happy Independence Day, Israel.
This is a relationship between the Council General of Israel and Champions for Progress, which is the Community Development Corporation of extension of our church. But more importantly, it's an example of the unity that we need in our city, the unity that we need in our nation today. It is a demonstration of the kind of partnership that comes together out of relationships that can heal, that can help, and that can be a blessing to so many.
Access to technology and education has always been a principle and a foundation of the Jewish people, and it is also the future. The future is technology. Dr. Kenneth Ulmer has been a friend and partner of the Israeli consulate here in Los Angeles. We have developed a long and deep relationship. We look forward to many more initiatives in the future.
Happy Independence Day, Israel. Yom Ha'Atzmaut Sameach Israel.
Thank you for joining us tonight for Israel's 73rd Independence Day celebration. We'll close out this wonderful evening with a very special guest, Miss Wanda Battle. Wanda is the director of the tour ministry at Dexter Avenue King Memorial Baptist Church, the church in Montgomery, Alabama, where Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. served as pastor. Wanda keeps Dr. King's legacy alive every day, inspiring all those who visit the church from around the world. She inspired me as well, uplifting me with Dr. King's wise and powerful message, which continues to challenge prejudice to this day. After meeting Wanda, I just knew she would be the perfect person to sing the national anthems on this special night, highlighting the shared legacies of the African American and Jewish communities. We are truly honored to have Wanda with us tonight to perform the American and Israeli national anthems. Chag Sameach, Happy Independence Day, Israel.
See, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the rampart we watched her so gallantly streaming on the rocket's red glare. The bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say dost that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free?
שמשיח הגיע, שהעצבות נכנעה לשמחה, ואין יותר מלחמות להכריע. תגידי שלסרטן יש תרופה, תגידי לי שמחלתי על אמש, תגידי לי שעוד יש לי סיכוי להינצל ולזרוח כשמש, תגידי לי שליבך לא כבוי, ותבשרי לי בשורות טובות, כמו שרק את יודעת לבשר. רק תבשרי לי בשורות טובות, אני לא יכול לשמוע חדשות יותר. בשורות טובות. תגידי שהקטנה כבר הולכת, שהכנרת מוצפת עד תום, ואלוהים עוד ידק לה בחסד. תגידי שיש סיכוי לשלום, כי הימין והשמאל מזמן מתו, הביטי סביב יש רק אנשים. אז בואי נתחיל רק שנינו בינינו, נפסיק להטיף, נפסיק להאשים, ותבשרי לי בשורות